Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to ERA Sunday Championship Round 6. My name is Stephen Koenig, and joining me in the box here at Imola is one of our own legends, the real Wall that you can constantly rely on. Well, we've got Chris Wall in the box. Chris, welcome to Imola, or however they say it in Italian as a welcome. But Imola, a fun circuit you know all too well, pointing both forward and backwards.
Buongiorno, Stephen. Welcome to the Italian hills. Imola's a brilliant racetrack, one of my favourites. It splits opinion with drivers. Some love it, some hate it, and there's some cars here that are very sort of powerful, and I think we'll see an interesting race with a lot of potentially airborne cars through Variante Alta. Maybe the occasional drive-through, but we absolutely guaranteed some good racing here today.
That's it, and Aqua Morelli is always a tongue twister to go and get right. Always a difficult corner that most drivers tend to try and go side by side. I've got to say, Variante Tamburello is one of my favorite corners on this track, worst one being Tosa. But now that we're getting so close to the end of the championship, we had Red Bull Ring last weekend, but now we're into the closing stages of it. And I've got to say, looking at the championship, you and I spoke about it early on in the season. Gold and the likes of Platinum are one to watch out for. And taking a look at the Gold Championship, we got Nicholas Cora leading out in first place, 67 points. Lewis Knight, second place, 66 points. Finn van Holland on 52 points, along with David Young, 39 points. Nico Lawrence in fifth with 36 points, only 2 points ahead of Federico Calgero, David Roth, Nicholas Porras, Christopher Orski, Freddie Morelli, Liam Smith, Patrick Miles, along with Stuart Parsons, Hanzo Foss down in 14th position, Damien Moroni in 15th, 16th is Wilfred Robertson, and Finley Gamble, who is down at the bottom. I mean, the Gold Championship is absolutely neck and neck, and with 2 rounds left in the championship, it's open cards for the top 5.
Yeah, it's so close. The top 3 are separated by 7 points. When you're looking at totals, Korea last week didn't have the greatest of results. Granted, it wasn't a bad one, but he'd already had his 0-point score at Mount Panorama. So any slip up for Korea now is only going to bring Lewis and Flynn back into the fray. That's exactly what happened last week at Red Bull Ring. Lewis and Flynn both outscored Korea, and that's brought gold right into this tight mix going into the penultimate race of this season.
Having those neck-and-neck races, and gotta say, a lot of the gold drivers have been featuring in the top 5 and the top 10s every single race. So it has definitely perked up the eyebrows of our diamonds and our platinums, knowing that the competition is getting very, very fierce at the back, and also shows a level of improvement from the first race of the season till now. I mean, Nicholas has really stepped up his game. Lewis Knight has also picked up the pace to stay in the fight. Finn van Holland, go back one season, was down towards the back of the grid and now is putting up a fight towards the front. He's into third in the championship. I mean, that's great feats of step for the young man. Just incredible there. Taking a look at our platinums, we got Martin Spritzer in first place. He's on 69 points. Sebastian Luxon on 58 points. Tomo Milami is running on 56 points. Flo Scub running in fourth is on 52 points. Christian Fengler, who unfortunately will be out of tonight's race from what I understand, is on 46 points, 2 points ahead of Simon Kussat. Skurt Reynolds, going to be quite happy about it. He's lying in sixth on 44 points. He's on 37 points in 7th place. Simon Kussat is on 44 points ahead of him. Chris Wall, yourself, unfortunately not in the car, but getting to see the entire Platinum class stepping up that game, really going and moving forward. Lucas Kolab has been improving as well, so we're looking forward to seeing what he can do here tonight.
Yeah, so Spitzer's almost got Platinum wrapped up already. Obviously, Lucasen and Malmo are going to want to put a stop to that. Lucasen obviously promoted mid-season from Gold, so he brings a lot of points with him. I don't know how that's going to affect things like the pre-race penalties. That will seem a little bit mixed up tonight. But yeah, Platinum is quite a thin division in terms of how many drivers there, but it's still very competitive.
Now, it's definitely where you want to be, and we're going to see a lot of our Our gold drivers progressing as racing goes on. And finally, our diamond, our fastest of the fast that are out there, our pros that even now are going and utilizing those training sessions to just find that little bit more pace. And it's been paying dividends to all the drivers. Christoph Peterson leads out the pack with Ernest Lundbriggs chasing him down in second place. The points difference, though, between the two is rather huge, with Ernest having a bit of an up and down season, but still managing to hold on. David Schutten, great improvement on his side, going and launching his way up into the order. He's currently lying on 46 points, behind Ernest Lundbriggs' 58 points, but only 2 points ahead of Darius, who's running on 44 points. Then we got Jens Nelson. He's in fifth with 36 points, tying it up with Sean Skitter on 36 points. So we expect the battle between the two of them there. Ben Hicks also, huge improvement on his side. I've got to say that he's been really on the climb, trying to get better and better in lots and lots of time in the sim. Michael Castro lying in 8th. He's on 28 points, so 1 point off of that 7th place. Camille Ellison, he has also been trying to get a little bit more time in the sim, losing out at the likes of Mount Panorama and Suzuka, but managing to score some points at Red Bull Ring. He's in 9th place on 22 points. And Christian Goff in that 10th position, rounding out the pack. He is actually tied with Ryan Gell, who we've seen more than once take the fight to the front end.
Yeah, it's been a bit unlucky, and that's been the story for a lot of the Diamond drivers. They've just had some bad luck along the way. If there's a track that Peterson can be catched, it might well be Imola. That Honda is a little bit allergic to the curbs here. So if you're a Lindberghs, a Shooter, and a Darius, this is probably the race where you're going to try and pick up some points against Christoph, but you can never write Christoph off. Even at a track where that car is absolutely allergic to it, Christoph always finds a way, and that's why he's a nearly 5-time champion.
I think that he's in for a huge rude awakening in terms of the competition now, as everyone's been putting in that little bit of work. We're currently taking a look at Patrick as they're starting to get their first set of laps underway under full race pace at a very hot circuit of Imola. I mean, 38 degrees track temperature is definitely not what I would call ideal racing conditions for your slick tires. Simon Kusa putting in the fastest lap time with a 142.3. You can see very unsettled into turn 1, just trying to get that nose to drag the rear around as it slides through the corners.
Yeah, Imola's a track that counts for momentum. You've not got a lot of, once you pass turn 1, there's not a lot of straights in terms where you can recover things like speed. So if you're in a car that does have a lot of straight line speed, you can only really utilise that one part of the circuit. So you've really got to maximise your apex speeds and get tidy corner exits all the way around to get a really good lap time out of Imola. There's not a lot of straights that will rescue you here. It's all about your cornering speeds, and of course it's quite flat as well. There is a little bit of what I mean by flat in terms of corner camber, so you haven't got a lot of that helps you out, and that will punish your tyres as well. Your tyres are going to scrub more, and in the race especially, I think we will see tyre wear start to really impact these drivers as we hit the half-hour mark.
I do think the front engines are going to have a bit more of an advantage, able to attack the curbs a lot more than our mid-engine counterparts. Christoph Peterson puts a fastest lap time of the race with a 141.3. Very lightweight compared to the likes of David Schutten, who is out in the Ford Mustang, going and really trying to hammer it through the corners and stepping up the pace. Nicholas Cora going and racing for the Everest Racing Team in the McLaren, hoping to catch up to 3rd place. Michael Castro has just lost the rear of his Mercedes AMG GT3 and will have to wait it out. Sebastian Luxon, a different livery to what we've seen him before. This time, a mental health reminder. Just going and touching on for those saying it's always good to remember a bit of mental health. That's one thing I got to say about sim races that's always been quite interesting, is they tend to be a lot more understanding of less talkative subjects like mental health. At motorsport, you really don't want to talk too much about it. In sim racing, well, mental health is something to remember because it does take off 0.2, 0.3 of a lap time. I mean, if someone goes and steals my flippin' Easter egg right now, I promise you I'm going to be 6 seconds off.
Yeah, mate, I could 100% get on board with that. Yeah, I'm just gonna interject really and say David Shooten's gone pole now by half a second against Christoph. Yeah, you were right. The front engines are having a much better time of it with Darius now in fourth position. But my star of the show at the moment is Courier. He's a gold driver, and he's now 8 tenths off pole time, but gold driving a mid-engine McLaren with the time he's put on the board at the minute, that is really impressive work from him, and I think he'll improve as well as we go through the qualifying session.
He's been improving all season long. Sebastian Luxon running in 8th position as a platinum driver. Paul Fenter also been improving his lap times, currently in 9th. Been working quite a bit under the likes of Christoph to just get a little bit more pace underneath the car. Consistency wise has been a little bit more difficult in through this week alone, having to stop racing due to, well, being a dad does lean into it. Ernest Lundbrink, though, not often we get to see him down the order. Only able to qualify in 10th at the moment with a 141.7. Looks like the Lamborghini starting to battle it out, trying to find that little bit of a pace. Do you think the inherent of what Lamborghini's driving style is? I know, Chris, you participated in a number of series outside of ERA in a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's going to be one of the weaker tracks for the Lamborghini. It's not fantastic over curbs. It does destabilise the car quite a lot, and of course the Lamborghini's weakness is its straight line speed, and there is a massive straight line here at Imola, so that car will struggle. But it can make up a lot of time in the twisty bits. But it's not going to be able to hold a candle to, like you say, some of the front engine cars that can really abuse those curbs. The Lamborghini can probably do that for 1 or 2 laps. Over a race distance, it's going to struggle a little bit more.
I see Mahath Musa out on track, going and doing exactly that, attacking the curbs, trying to really force the car in. The BMW, always known as one of the most consistent cars when you're going over the curbs, but does inherently pick up a lot of understeer as time goes on, and Mahath Musa going and picking up a bit of oversteer, trying to make his way through Tamarello. So definitely a difficult race is going to be on the cards here, but with the track temperature
on a beast of a lap, by the way, Stephen. He's sorry to interject. He's 6 tenths up on his lap at the minute. This will put him near the top if he gets a good eye. He gets a pole one out of the last corner.
Well,
I was going to say he was nearly 8 tenths up then.
0.5 and gets himself into 4th place. Immediately pulls off to the side to just try and give some time for a couple of cars to come through. Great run on his order to get his way back up through the order. We've got to talk about some of the new drivers joining in here at ERA. We've got Jason Farmer, all the way from South Africa. The Griffin Sim Racing team been coming in a little bit more often, and now we are welcoming a huge flux of new drivers to ERA, which is quite an amazing thing. You've been on track with these drivers, and getting to see new names popping into the series, Chris, must be quite a... Well, for me, it's rather exciting because it means new championship winners, new points holders, new races, new cars, and just some great side-by-side action, I think.
Yeah, it's always good to have new drivers in the series. That you'll typically hear from some of the drivers, they don't. Some of them don't like change, but personally, I absolutely love welcoming new people into the community. And to see them on track as well, and especially if they're clean. We know these Griffin Sim guys. I've raced with them in various other series through my L&R connections. I know they're all good drivers and they're clean as well. Farmer joined last week at Red Bull Ring, had an unfortunate lap 1, but had a fantastic recovery drive, got himself back into the top 10. So he's going to be one to watch. He seems to struggle in qualifying and 1 lap pace, but his race pace is always there. So in the race, definitely one to watch, Mr. Farmer.
Well, that's it. And, well, with the likes of Jason Farmer around, means that we do actually get the Jason Farmer and Griffin Sim Racing superfan. And I've got to say, a big welcome to Antonio Gamble that I've got to say is definitely one of the superfans in the world of sim racing. Since I started commentating and having Jason Farmer on the grids, the Griffin Sim Racing team and such, it's always been one name that constantly comes in. Christian Finger, who's not driving, will be viewing on from the grandstands. Good to have you guys around. Absolutely fantastic to see so many familiar names to me, but also a big welcome to those racing in all our divisions here at ERA. We're glad to have you here, and we're looking forward to having you for many, many more races and training. And also, if you are interested, if you're not quite sure, you're on the fence, you're not sure if you're fast enough, just get involved with ERA. We'll go and teach you the basics and also the more advanced stuff. Doesn't matter if you're fast or slow, as long as you have fun at the end of it. That's all that counts. And just don't take our Easter eggs. I mean, Chris and I we've got our box here. We're reviewing it. But Michael Castro trying to pick up pace, losing a bit of time. David Schuton, though, I've got to say, very, very impressed with this Mustang as he's managed to dial it in. It's a car that some people love and others have a complete hate to the Mustang in the world of ACC. But I don't know, since David's gone and put the police livery on, he's been on an absolute charge that I think the Japanese police will be more than happy to invite him into the special speed division catching street races at this point.
Oh, definitely, yeah. If ever he retires from sim racing, that guy's got a career as a police interceptor, 100%. The Ford Mustang, I drove it round here on Thursday just as a bit of an experiment. It's very good. You're right, the understeer is a bit of a problem, but once you nail that down, it's an exceptional car to drive. You can absolutely eat curbs with it. The one problem he will have is in the race, he will have probably the worst tyre wear out of the lot. The Ford does chew through its tyres a lot worse than most of the cars. So definitely one to watch in the race. But we know David's a fantastic driver. Just looking at the qualifying times, we've got 2 minutes to go. We do have a few drivers on slightly improved laps, but no one is absolutely setting the timing boards on fire at the moment. And as it stands, we've got Christoph Peterson not starting at the front, which I know will upset him greatly.
It will be the first time this season of not starting on the front row. I've got to give it up though. Christian got 0.02 off David Schuton. Christoph Peterson trying to step up the pace. He's 0.1 up on his personal best. He may be able to get it down and possibly get himself into first place. If not, he's going to be lining himself up next to his own teammate, Sean Skitter. And the frustration will definitely kick in. But I think he's going to have a problem here. Trying to gain a little bit of time. Going to catch up to a little bit of traffic. Ooh, a little bit too much on the curb there as he's trying everything he can to just find any bit of momentum possible to ensure that he stands on the top spot for the start of round 6. Will this be the upset? He's got to make it work. One more corner to go. Don't get it all looking dirty.
He's going to get a little bit of aero assistance from Flo Scrub ahead of him as well. Which is negating because he didn't get a brilliant exit from the last turn, but the aero that he's getting from the car ahead is helping, and that just put him in pole position by 0.2 of a second. What a lap.
Absolutely great stuff, and I can physically see the sweat coming off Christoph's brow with that last one, as he was just really reeling in. And Sean Skitter in fourth place also is 0.2 up, but just goes and cuts the corner a little bit too much, and that unfortunately takes him out of the running. Michael Castro currently going 0.2 up on his personal best with a 141.4 to beat. Looking very clean as he makes his way through the chicane. Actually gained a lot of time there. Going to be heading down to our final the final 3 corners because of 4, because you have a 15-degree turn angle FIA. Very clever in terms of that sort of stuff. But can he get on the anchors a little bit early? Turns it in. A slight tap of the brakes on the way through. 0.4 up. This may be a big one to jump him into the top 10 from 12th. Michael Castro comes across the line and does. 4th place. What a mighty lap. Camilleson in the Aston Martin, not going to be down on his one. 0.3 up, and Simon Kussat currently was sitting 1/10 up, but unfortunately lost out that little bit of time. Scott Reynolds is a 10th up as well. So a couple of drivers getting at last minute send.
I was going to say Spitzer's doing a good lap. Commentator's curse just as I go to him. He absolutely leapfrogs one of the sausage curbs. That cost him a 10th. Don't know if he's going to be able to make it up. This lap should put him just around where Simon Cossett is at the moment. If he manages to get a good exit, he does get a really good exit actually, and he's absolutely flying now. This will put him probably P15 around Camille, I should imagine.
And across the line in 15th, you called it. I've got to say, you did obviously in math, you're really good. Because that was absolutely calling it. But as you said, getting a great drive. It seems like the Lamborghinis, if you can just dial it out, getting around the final corner, it gets a lot of pace underneath it. That can be quite a deadly combination. And Rolotsky also 2 tenths up on his personal best will get across the line, put himself into 26th position. So wow, oh wow, we're in for a race of note. And Christoph Peterson narrowly going and holding on to that first place. David Schutten will be running in second place, chasing him down into turn one. Christian Garth on the second row with Michael Castro. Sean Skitter running in the third row with Ernest Lumbriggs, who at this point, just out of the top 5, is going to be scratching his head. Mahath Musa on the charge. And if we go back to the previous season, Mahath Musa was actually fighting it out for the championship. This time round, hasn't been as lucky. He's going to be lining up with Darius, going and chasing him through. Malami lining up with Nicholas Cora, our first of the gold divisions in the top 10, lining up with the first of our platinums. That is a huge, huge run for both. And once again, reiterates the fact is as the championship has gone on, the training sessions have gone on, the drivers have been honing and improving their skills, that they're able to move up in their own divisions and move into the next set of divisions. Great to see them out on track and where it's all going to land up.
So, they've out-qualified half of the diamond field. If you're looking at it, there's, I think, 8 diamonds above them and 7 or 8 below them. So Tarmo and Nicholas Correa, their qualifying laps have put them, in a position where they're above, in Nicholas's case, 2 classes above him. So he's really flying at the moment. Another shout out to Lewis Knight. He's 19th on the road, but it was a really good lap from him right at the death to put him in P19. Again, out qualified a couple of diamonds and Flo scubbed the outlying platinum that only managed P23 in that Honda. So the Honda, a difficult custom around here. Peterson fortunately managed to get his hands on it okay, and so did Sean Scotty. But Flo seemed to struggle. Any early predictions for the race, Stephen?
Ooh, well, this is always a difficult one because we go back to Imola last season where we got to see people taking their first ever victories in classes. We also got to see some incredible racing. We also got to see some turnaround moments. I'm gonna have to say, Schuten's gonna be an eye for a charge here. Wasn't too far off Christoph Peterson's time. Am worried about the tires though. But with Christian Goth and Michael Castro around, don't count out the 2 teammates. They can pull each other in this fight and able to close up the door. So I've got a funny feeling Christoph Peterson is in for a world of hurt here. But Nicholas Cora, I've got a sneaky suspicion, is going to be one of our top 5 runners by the end of this race. Based on how it's just been keeping the improvement, same as Tarmo, they're going to be a top 5 contention if they can just keep the pace. It's very, very difficult, but I'm also going to just take a flyer. The Bentley, Hanzo Foss. Don't count Hanzo out of this fight. The Bentley around Imola doesn't hurt tires as much as you think it would. So if Hanzo can just keep it clean, I expect him to be in the top 10.
Yeah, definitely. It's another car that can absolutely munch the curbs at Imola, and that's a bit of an understatement for how important that is across an hour race. We've got the success penalties as well, so Christoph will do 15 seconds, David will do 10, and Lindberghs will do 5 in diamond, and then in platinum it's Skirt with 15, Spitzer with 15, Lucasen with 10. And then Kossup with 5. So there's a lot of success penalties that will play a role in the outcome of the race. So if you are Christoph and Schutten at the start of the race, are you worrying about those penalties? Are you going to slow each other down by having that fight early on? Because the more you fight with the other driver, the more time you lose. So what if you're David Shooting at the minute and you're behind Christoph? How much pressure are you putting on him straight away?
Well, that's it. Knowing the characteristics of your car, and what's being handy is having access to know the characteristics of your opponent's vehicle will definitely help out. But for those that have just joined us, welcome to ERA, welcome to the Sunday Championship. And where have you been? This has been such an incredible season of some up and down racing. And you're joining us here for round 6 at Imola. The beautiful voice that you've been hearing that can serenade you is Chris Wall, one of our incredible drivers, one of our tutors, and one of the big voices here in ERA and around the world. Actually goes and represents straight from the UK to all different parts of the world. Absolutely fantastic to have him. And, well, it only took me going and putting a bit of sugar in the petrol tank to eventually flatten it out. But glad to have you here, Chris. For those that aren't too familiar with a success penalty, why on earth would you have a penalty for success? Chris, can you take us through, for those that are just looking at the numbers going, why am I getting penalised for coming first?
Yeah, so it's really just an equaliser for the championship. So if you come first in a race, you earn yourself 15 seconds extra in the pit lane for the next race, 10 seconds for second place and 5 seconds for third. That really is just to try and make sure that we are equalising the pace. If you've won a race, it means you're really fast. And giving you an extra 15 seconds will put you back in the fight once you've served your pit stop. So it's to try and stop one driver that's absolutely running away with it, basically. And it adds a bit of strategy to it.
It adds a huge amount of strategy. We have seen races won and lost just by going and working out that success penalty, because a lot of people tend to forget about it and it catches you right at the end. For those that are joining us as well, white borders is our diamond class. Those are the fastest drivers that there is and some of the best in the world that you get to duke it out with. Going further down, we'll have our grey borders. Those are our platinums. That's similar to your pro-ams that you would be watching. And then the gold is the red borders. Those are your am drivers. But let that not fool you. They're incredibly quick. But this is also server 1. We do have a server 2 that has a multitude of drivers as well, heading into our iron side of things. And that is incredible for those new and upcoming drivers that are wanting to get a bit of a taste of the sport. Well, with that being said, let's go through our grid, because we're in for an absolutely wild time for the ERA Sunday Championship Round 6 here at Imola. And we have got Christoph Peterson leading out the pack with David Shooten in second place. Michael Castro will run in third. Christian Goth in fourth place. Sean Skitter in fifth. Sixth place is Ernest Limbriggs, who has been fighting it out. Unfortunately, this is going to be the first time he's running way lower than planned. Mahath Musa lying in seventh position, having a good run in qualifying, needing to improve. Darius in the Nissan GTR, hoping that it will have just enough legs. Tomo Malami in ninth place along with Nicholas Cora. Our platinum with our gold. Jens Nelson running in 11th. Andre Sorodio in 12th place with Sebastian Luxon chasing it down. Scott Reynolds, who's quite happy with his Ford and calls it the Sherman tank. Doesn't want to call it a Tiger P. Martin Spritzer running in 15th position with Camille Hansen in 16th. Paul Fenter in 17th position. Simon Kussat running in 18th, followed by Lewis Knight. Ruan Heineke will be running in the 20th position for the Griffin Sim Racing team. Hanso Foss in 21st with the big Bentley. The only Bentley in the grid will be chased down by Jason Farmer of the Griffin Sim Racing team, making his debut here in ERA last week. Flo Scab running in 23rd, along with Stephen Milano James in 24th. Nico Lawrence will run 25th. Christoph Roloski will run in 26th position. Patrick Wells runs in 27th, followed by David Young in 28th. Finn van Holland will be in 29th. Nicholas Pora will be running in 30th. And rounding out our field of 31 cars will be David Roth, who last time was here, landed up pointing the wrong way and looking at the sky. So
he's not going to want a repeat of that anytime soon, is he?
No, I think many drivers are not going to be wanting a repeat of any of that shenanigans, but our drivers make their way through. 70 kilometers an hour, waiting for the lights. This is where your blood pressure starts to rise, your adrenaline starts to kick in, the pulse rate goes through the roof. Lights on, lights on, lights on, and you wait for that green to go, that sound in your ears. And there we go, an hour's worth of racing kicked underway for round 6 of the ERA Sunday Championship, and Christoph Peterson is absolutely trying to get the run on the Mustang of David Schutten, who goes on the defense trying to hold back the AMG and not having an easy time out there. Christian Goff getting pressure by his own teammate Michael Castro, running out a little bit wide, and Ernest Umbriggs going and slotting himself in, trying to get on by, under braking, stuck on the outside. The Lamborghini just getting ahead. Sean Skitter getting a little bit fouled up on the way through, as we do see Michael Castro up on the inside looking for a late send, but nearly got it all hooked in. And don't count out Andre Sorodio trying to make up some time as well, but looking rather clean through turn 1.
Yeah, there was only one little bit of contact, which was Flo Scub on another car, but that pretty much only resulted in Flo going off the track, and I think it got back underway again pretty quickly. Most of the field through this first half of the lap without incident so far, touch wood. Let's hope they stay that way.
That's been incredible stuff, but Christoph Peterson trying to check out the fight early on at this point, as we keep an eye on Andre Sorodio. He's got Nicholas Cora on the back of him, and Nicholas is not going and holding back at this point, constantly putting pressure on the Ferrari. Had a great drive out of the chicane, but now it's down to the bottom of the circuit. Let's see if the McLaren has got the legs just to go for the inside. He looked for it, he thought about it, didn't quite go for it, as we do see Sebastian Luxon going and feeling a bit of pressure from Camille Sin as they both go side by side. The two Aston Martins going and throwing hammer down on one another. And that's only allowed Simon Kussa to get back into the fray of them as the drivers start crossing the line. 38-degree track temperature, fights like this, hammering the brakes. How long can you keep up this fight before the cars start to argue with you, Chris?
So these drivers will be running with wide open brake ducts, so that's all the cooling possible going into your brakes. They will not want to sit behind other cars too closely for too long, because that will overheat those tyres.
Serodio's off.
You will start to see cars. Oh, is he? Yeah.
Serodio's off. Apologies for that. That is the number 7 who looked like he had a bit of contact. We're going to quickly go and take a replay of it. Apologies to jump in there as we do try and take... This is a chase cam. So Sorodio on the back of Mahath Musa, his own teammate. Oh, contact from Nicholas, who's able to straighten the car out. But unfortunately, Sorodio into the wall with quite a bit of damage on his car. He's trying to fight back, and he is going side by side with that Red Bull colored livery of Patrick Bowles, who's just going to keep the pressure on him. Not ideal circumstances, but it does look like braking a fraction earlier, trying to avoid his bit of contact with his own teammate, has only fouled him up. Nicholas did not lose a position though, despite that little bit of a bump.
No, I went to him not long after that contact, and just to sort of mention that although Nicholas got away with that, it did cause a little bit of a ruffle a little bit further down, led Malmy to lose a position or two and Skirt to gain a couple. So the American tank is working his way through the field, now up to P11 and the lead of the Platinum Division.
So, big turn of events happening out on track, and lots of drivers having to think a little bit more of what the plan is. As we do take a look back, this is 20th position. Stephen Milano James fighting out with Lewis Knight, and got Jason Farmer climbing all over the back of him as well. These three are fighting it out, and that's only helping Nicholas Lawrence get into the fight. Rolotsky not too far off the back, and Hanso Foss getting a little bit of a drive on David Young in the background as well. So as the fights are continuing right through the order, this is getting a bit wild. Further up, Mon Spritzer going and forcing Camille out to the fringes of the circuit, just trying to track that Aston Martin on the outside, lose the drive, and that feeds him immediately into Sebastian, who looks for the inside line. Couldn't quite get the send on it. What a big move though, trying everything. I mean, these cars are in trains. This is so difficult to find your braking marker. But as a driver, Chris, you are a pro driver. You're watching drivers in front of you out of the front windscreen. Your mirrors are full of cars. Your relative is going berserk. You've got call-outs left and right, left and right. How do you focus on your strategy of lap times and tire preservation and fuel when you've got, well, like this, Martin Spritzer dealing with Camille, who's going on the inside, looked again at it.
Let me tell you, that all goes out the window the first few laps until you settle into a rhythm. The first couple of laps of any race, no matter how much you tell yourself before the race that you really need tunnel vision, focus on tyre preservation, bring your tyres up to temperature nice and calmly so you don't overheat them and put them through a heat cycle too soon, goes out the window as soon as you're battling with another car. And Spitzer's, you see, I don't know if you're looking at him, but Camille's having a right go at Spitzer. And, Spitzer is one of those drivers that is absolutely phenomenal in a battle. He's really hard to get by, and he will have full focus on that car behind him at the moment. But yeah, to answer your question, it's really difficult to focus in the opening laps of a race. You basically don't. You know, if it's this close and this frenetic, you really just have to focus on maintaining a good track position, and the rest comes later, to be honest.
Well, the only one that seems to be getting some good airflow is Scott Reynolds. He's got a bit of spacing between himself and the likes of Talmo, but from there, all the way down, Talmo, Mon Spritzer, Camille Lison, Sebastian Lucen, Simon Kusat. Doesn't matter if you go left, right, you are starting to constantly get that dirty air coming off, that aero wash hitting you, that heat going through your brake ducts, going and causing a little bit more of a problem. Is it worth maybe to come off the gas? As we do see Talmo, huge send on Skirt Reynolds, gets it booked in beautifully. Skirt goes down the order, creates a concertina effect. That's helped Camille to get past the likes of Martin Spritzer. But Talmo with a monster send, and that BMW making its mark in this race as, Martin looks on the inside of Camille, couldn't get it sorted out, and Sebastian gets his elbows in. Simon Kusset doesn't want to be caught out in this race as well.
Oh my god, this is some great racing. So that move actually started down Aqua Minerale there for Malmi. Skirt just seemed to get the Mustang just a little bit unsettled, and he lost that fight, unfortunately. Malmi just able to get the BMW tidied up better than the Mustang could, but Skirt now has to pick between chasing down Malmi, who is quickly getting away from him, and defending Camille, who, don't forget, he isn't in his split. This isn't his fight. He doesn't have to worry about Camille, but he is a natural barrier to 3 class cars behind him. So how much of a battle do you want to put against that Aston Martin in the early stages? Only he will be able to answer that one.
I think at this point, none of the drivers are worrying about the classes. They just in it for the fun, looking at how close and tightly packed the entirety of the field is. Going a little bit further up the order, Ernest Lundbriggs, who's running in 4th place, has got Michael Castro and Sean Skitter going and clawing, ripping at the back of him, with Mahath Musa now chasing down as well. We're starting to see more and more of these little trains starting to form throughout the fights, as Sean Skitter right up against the back of Michael Castro. And a little bit further down, we've got a bit of a dive for the inside line as it looks like a pass. Oh, never mind. There is a big impact, and that is Camille into the wall. Looks like Sebastian got caught out as he was trying to take a bit of an advantage on likes of Skirt Reynolds. And the one who got away with it all is Simon Kusat, but it is busy. Paul Fenter now into the fray as well. This is turning into a rough race to be in, and Simon Kusat checking his way out of the fight, not wanting to be involved with it anymore. But unfortunately, we've got one Aston Martin looking a little bit second-hand.
Well, you were talking about these trains forming, and one thing I was just about to say is they will stay that way until someone makes a mistake, and I think that might be what we just saw there. Someone getting the braking just a little bit wrong, and you saw the carnage that creates when the cars are this closely formatted, and it's so easy to make a mistake here when you're in a tight pack, and like we spoke about earlier, you're just focusing on the cars around you and getting your braking points right, and we saw it basically go wrong there. And Venter, one of the big winners out of that, and that's given some drivers a bit of a reprieve as well.
So let's quickly take a replay footage at the likes of Simon as he went side by side with the likes of our Mustang, all looking good. late on the anchors, puts a nose in, and oh, it is contact on the rear that put Camille into the wall. Sebastian Luxon just missing his brake marker by just a couple of meters, unfortunately, put enough momentum into the likes of Camille's car and pushed him into the wall. And Scott Reynolds going in, just saying thank you very much to that one. Simon Kussat going and getting the advantage, runs away from the pack, not wanting to get too involved. But Sebastian will also be having a bit of damage on the front end of his car, having to now deal with Martin Spritzer. Goes to the middle of the circuit, great defense, and Sebastian having to look. He looked for it tentatively, backed out of it, looked at it again, couldn't quite go for it. That second guessing the option lost him a little bit of time in the run, but it does look like the field now starting to settle down ever so slightly as Camille is pulling into the pits, and the drivers starting to make their way through as we do. Sebastian trying to go side by side. Martin up on the inside will have the advantage. Clean crossover. Oh, contact between the two, and Paul Fenter around the outside. Oh, he tried his best. A bit of rally driving there. Lewis Knight now getting involved. Ruin Heineke into the mix. Paul Fenter down 2 positions. Man, oh man. This concertina effect, just that little bit of contact as Paul loses the rear.
Oh, no.
And Paul's in the wall. Paul has hit the wall.
It was inevitable. I'm afraid it was inevitable. Oh my days, yeah. So I was watching when you were talking about Sebastian Lucasen and Martin Spitzer's little fight in the Razzas at the end of the last lap. I was just about to say that the Aston Martin being a better straight line car, is much better just to be patient and get Martin on the turn 1. He tried to do that, but because he had that sort of collision at the end of the lap before, that slowed everyone down, brought everyone back together, and that's basically why this is all kicking off. I think some of these drivers just need to have a little bit of patience. The moves will come. You just have to manufacture it sometimes and not go for knee-jerk maneuvers.
It's definitely one of the hardest one. I gotta say, the racing's very close, and Lewis Knight on the Angry Weasel having to just grab it by the neck and really throw that Nissan GTR around, trying to figure out where he can go as the concertina effect becomes so real. And I think a lot of people tend to forget about that, because when we talk about a concertina effect, we're talking about all the cars slowing down. Think about you go driving down the highway and suddenly there is a breakdown. You having everyone slowing up, and suddenly you have one car that's 10 kilometers slower than the car that's in front. Well, the front car is 10 kilometers slower than the second car, and it just lands up you having to move your brake markers, shifting it by 5 to 10 meters, which is absolutely massive. And if you get sucked into a battle and you manage to misjudge that, it's going to land up in a world of pain, not only for yourself, but for others around you. So always think of it like a little bit of traffic. Leave yourself a little bit of room just in case. Otherwise, you're going to land up in a world of hurt. Being nose to tail is a lot of fun, but it means when those brake lights come on, you're already too late.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't drive your normal brake points and turning points when you're that close to another car. Not only are you're that close to another car that if they brake a little bit early, you're going to crash into them, but things like aero wash come into play as well, where you haven't got as much aero over the front of your car, so your turning points are usually a little bit elongated. One thing that I've been looking at in the background, Stephen, and I don't have the actual data because we don't get that here in our race control system, but a lot of drivers taking liberties with track limits. Let's just say there's a lot of invalid laps been on the cards in the last we've done 7 laps now. A lot of drivers are in red. We might start to see some drive-throughs towards the tail end of the race if these drivers aren't starting to be a little bit more careful about that.
Now, as we look at Imola, where would be the main points of the drive-throughs with, well, your track limits coming into play? You know, we're watching Mahath Musa chasing down Sean Skitter at the moment and keeping lots of pressure on him, and we're seeing likes of Ernest Lundberg and himself also going and racing around. Where exactly do you think those track limits are starting to come into effect?
Most of them will be turn 9 Piratella. That is very easy to just run a little bit wide on the exit of turn 9 going into turn 10. The other popular place is Variante Alta, the final chicane, turn 14, 15. Again, on the exit of that, it's very easy just to dip a wheel out of track limits. And as well, Aqua Minerale sometimes can be a bit of a pain, but a lot of drivers have got that locked down by now.
So there we go, folks. And a drive through will be given. You get 3 warnings, and then you get landed with a drive through. You already have to do 1 mandatory pit stop. Getting another trip through the pits is detrimental to your races. We do have yellow flags for Sean Skitter, who has got the car turned round. Sean Skitter losing out quite a few positions. He's able to get himself up and going. Thankfully, not in the wall, but definitely those rear tires are going to be skyrocketing in terms of temperature. Definitely not going to work out. I mean, the track has also gone up a degree, 39 degrees. If you're spinning, what are these tires going to be doing now that track temperature's through the roof? You've now gone and spun round. You've gone and worn out the tires a little bit more. What does it mean the drivers have to do to try and cool things down?
Well, you're going to struggle. You really have to preemptively take your foot off the gas, really, and just treat your tyres very nicely. So they will suffer from a lot of lateral load, as we see another car just spinning it. That was
that's Skitter.
Who was that,
that's
actually?
Skitter.
That was Skitty again.
Skitter again.
Yeah. So when your tyres are that warm, and I think that's again an example of that, you're trying to take a corner and put load onto those tyres, and because they are so hot, these tyres operate best at about 80 degrees. Once you spin them once on a warm track like this, they instantly go above 100, and they are so difficult to get back down again. Sometimes it's best just to dip into the pits, take the L on your early pit stop and just get them off there, and run the remaining 45 minutes on one set of tyres. Some drivers are able to negate it better than others, but when you're in a mid-engine rear-wheel drive car like Skitty is, you're putting all the load through those rear tyres, all the weights over them as well. So whenever you're taking a corner, there's extra weight on those rear tyres to factor into it. The front engine cars don't have as much of a problem with this, but when you're looking at your Lamborghinis, your Hondas, your McLarens, they will struggle to bring those rear tyre temperatures down a lot more.
One thing you've also got to talk about is the advancements that have been done. Remember, these cars are variations and different years of the GT3 racing, as we do see Michael Castro fighting out with Ernest Lundbriggs. 2 of the newer of the cars, the Lamborghini Evo and the AMG Evo, going and chasing each other down. Mahith Musa in the BMW M4. And you've got the likes of Darius, who's actually in the older Nissan GTR, where it hasn't got as much cooling ducts compared to the newer stuff. And these are laser scanned vehicles. They are made very closely to the real world counterparts in GT3 racing, and that inherently also carries a lot of the best of the designs across as well. So for the likes of Darius, who's in a 2018-2019 Nissan GTR, stacking it against of their 2023-2024 counterparts ahead of him. Yes, BOP has come into play to try and bring it all sorted, but ideally the bodywork and aero that has been put into the car over the many years is not quite the same as its newer day counterparts, and that is something that does become more and more prevalent as the racing continues and as the temperature starts to skyrocket as well. So got to give it up to the Sims, going and really designing the vehicles and adding those little tweaks to the cars and ensuring that, well, you get to experience it all. And that's, I've got to say, as time goes on and ACC has got a bit of age to it, I am going to miss the little bits of nuances that they've done where you can see proper teardowns of the car and see how the airflow has been done over each of the different vehicles. They're not just a single shell that they use or a single block on the actual sim. They've actually gone and scanned these vehicles properly and communicated with manufacturers to ensure that they're carrying everything over, including positional of the engine, like the Mercedes AMG GT3 that we see with Michael Castro getting the run on the Lamborghini. And many people think the front engine big and heavy. That engine's actually a lot closer to the driver than you think. It's behind the front axle as he goes side by side trying to put that big nose in the way, and now has a Nissan GTR, that twin turbo, coming around the outside of Darius, doing everything he can. Side by side they go. Darius doing a little bit of rallying driving there, wishing that Nissan GTR carried over the real world counterpart road going vehicle of 4-wheel drive at that point.
Yeah, this is another point where Darius, I think, just has to bide his time. That Nissan is an absolute beast in a straight line, and he just has to make sure that he gets a really good exit from the final turn. And he's now tucked behind Lindbergh's after Lindbergh's made a mistake for Aqua Minerale. Darius actually might be able to get this tidied up a little bit earlier than he anticipates, but no, Lindbergh's gets a good run through there. Yeah, so talking about the cars, like really interesting point, Stephen. Even things like the Porsches, they have the fuel tank over the front, so when they run heavy, you've got more weight over the front. You actually do feel that in the game. Once your fuel starts to burn away, your front end gets lighter, and that starts to affect things like your tyre wear. So all that is modelled in. That all boils down to strategy. In some of these cars, you purposely run them heavy at the start of the race, because that's mitigated by certain other things like running in traffic and such. But yeah, the modelling of these cars, the way they're represented, and the racing it affords us is really great, and it's something that I take a great deal out of enjoyment from.
And it's something you actually learn as well in the training sessions. I got to sit in a couple and got to find out about the vehicles, finding out the little nuances about it, and from the pro drivers going and coaching into it. I know that, in terms of braking, that's always a fundamental thing of you got to improve your trail braking, you got to try and figure it out. But it came down to what car are you driving. Let's take you through the specific car that you're doing, and that's the main thing about ERA, is teaching, growing, getting you into just enjoying sim racing, improving as a driver, and whether you are highly skilled or you're just enjoying as a casual racer, there's always a spot for you to learn, grow, and get better. As Darius is still doing everything he can to try and catch up to Lindbergh's ahead of him, but you can already see the rear starting to not go and like him as much. He's really demanding a lot out of those rear tires. And Nicholas Cora, who's moved up 2 positions at this point, is now up into 8th place. He's going and really making up some good headway and constantly applying that little bit of pressure, not going on the attack. He is just hanging in the slipstream. That's also helping him with fuel usage, as he's able to come slightly off the throttle, allow the slipstream to pull him through, and gain maybe an extra lap in this race. Oh, as we do see a quick move in. Oh no, please don't tell me I just did a commentator's curse on the poor guy. As we do shoot over to Lewis Knight, who's got Ruin Heineke having a good go at him, and Stephen Milano James as well. Some network issues coming in for Nicholas, and I really hope that it holds out that little bit more, because nothing's more gut-wrenching than just having force majeure take you out of a race, especially when you're in such a great opportunity to move up through the order.
And he's in a championship fight as well, so that's the last thing he's going to want. These tyres these guys have been on now, they've been running them for 20 minutes in close combat. They will be screaming right about now. The track temperature, the nature of the track, the way the drivers have been operating as well, means that we'll start to see these pit stops, see some more track limits. It takes some of these violations I'm seeing, they need reporting to the Geneva Convention. They're that bad. But yeah, the pit stops that we'll start to see soon, they'll start to shape the race. One guy I wanted to give a bit of a shout out is Simon Cossut. He's been a bit of a silent assassin, Stephen. He's moved up 7 positions this race. He's technically second in his class. He does have a 5-second penalty to serve in the pit stop, but he's just operating out there tonight on a really subtle level that he's just plucked through the order, stayed out of trouble, and he's worked that Mercedes now up to P11.
Incredible stuff, starting in 18th position all told, but as you were pointing out, very sensible over the curbs. He's not going and attacking as hard as his fellow front engine counterparts, a little bit wide through the final corner and missing out that apex, but constantly just putting in those laps, keeping a consistent time at the moment. Been running in the 142 the high for 142 is a 142.6. The last lap was a 142.7. So he's really just keeping that consistent pace, not wanting to really go through at all. As we do see the Griffin Sim Racing team, Ruben Heineke and Jason Farmer now into the pits. And I think this is for their first pit stop. Paul Fenter dives into the pits as well. So all the South Africans definitely got each other's phone numbers and said, right, guys, we're pulling in the pits. Fuel's going up shortly. Let's try and get these things topped up before it goes up.
Yeah, so a nice double stack there for the Griffin Sim Racing team. So they're definitely getting their mechanics, to earn their ways today in these sintering hot conditions. So they'll come out of track. And one thing that Farmer did last week that I thought was quite interesting was he pitted really early. He was the first one in the pits, and that meant he could come out to a clear track. Is he employing the same strategy today?
I can tell you from Jason Farmer's escapades here in South Africa, he does that really, really often. I actually got to ask him why. Why do you go early into the pits every single time? And his answer was, well, he just wants to get it out of the way and keep racing. He gets a little bit sidetracked, so he wants it done and dusted. Big mover and shaker, David Schutten, now into the pits to serve his drive-through from second place. So he is now down the order. Christoph Peterson leads out the pack with Christian Goch now in second place. Mahayath Musa in third. Michael Cashro in fourth. And fifth place, Ernest Umbriggs. But do you think this is a bit of a warning shot to the front end of the field that now Schutten's down into the pits, depending on where he comes out, is going to be the major factor here? Stephen Millen James is in the pits. And a pit stop going through pit lane. Ruben Heineke did it in 34.9 seconds. He did, however, put a new set of tires and fuel into the car. So he was stopped in the box, got it refueled, got a new set of tires on. So far, everyone that has been in pit lane has put a new set of tires on. I don't think single stinting a set of tires on this circuit is anything possible. But the longer that you run on the set of tires means that you're closer to the track limits. That drive-through penalty is going to be looming. And I've got to say, the stewards in this sim must have taught F1 how to do the track limits, because man oh man, they come at you with a rate of knots and it hits you like a train.
Yeah, they don't take any prisoners, unfortunately, and the track limits, especially here at Imola, they're not overly strict. They're very sensible, but it's very easy here at Imola to come a cropper to the track limits. So, yeah, that may dictate some of it. I was questioning David's pit stop timing because I wondered where he'd come out. He's quite lucky that he's come out in relatively clear air. There was a bit of a risk of pitting before everyone else that he'd come out in traffic. Fortunately, he hasn't done that. Yeah, you're right. I don't think anyone will dare take one set of tyres for the full hour here. It can be done, but you will see a massive pace drop off. And for the time it takes you to fit a set of tyres, it is simply not worth it. It is rarely worth not taking tyres here.
Interesting to see Nicholas on the back of Darius. Now, these two have been talking a lot during the course of the week and trying to improve. And Nicholas, who is first to the gold division, doing a fantastic job. Then we got likes of Tomo Malami. He is leading out our platinums at current, with Christoph Peterson leading out our diamond division. Great to see some sharp end fights here, but I want to point out, remember I said watch out for Hanzo Voss. Take a look where he is. 14th position, second of our golds. That Bentley is flying. He's got Nico Lawrence 1.3 seconds behind him, but he is in for the fight here. Nicholas, who's all over the back of Darius at this moment, is now putting the hammer down. Looks to try go for the inside. I think Nicholas is starting to show his nose on Darius and telling him, listen, I'm going to be coming, and you best be very, very careful. This 720S is going to come at you, and Darius and the Nissan GTR is going to have to be very mindful of that fight. It's going to be a close one, but I told you, watch out for that Bentley. I don't really like them, but they have proven to be quite consistent. Nicholas Porras, though, all over Patrick Miles as they chase each other down. They do have David Roth a little bit further up ahead that they're trying to catch up. They have to first get past Flo Scub in that Honda. who wasn't too quick out of the chicane and now going to be fed into the fight as well. Lewis Knight returning to the circuit, David Schutzen leading out those that have completed their first pit stop, and that means from 22nd upwards, all the drivers needing to still put in those incredible times and ensure that they get enough spacing. We're gone nearly to the halfway mark. 30 minutes of this race to go. Christoph Peterson in first, Christian Garth in second, Mahath Musa in third for our diamonds. And overall currently, Nicholas Cora leads out our gold with Hanso Foss in second and Nico Lawrence running in third for our gold. And our platinums, Tomo Malani, Simon Kusat, who you said keep an eye on, he's been really improving, and Martin Spritzer as well, staying in for the fight, third of our platinums. This is turning it into a wild one, but it also does bring the championship into question. Will there be enough space by the end of this race that you secure the championship at the end, or will it go down to the final round of the championship? Drop rounds for majority of the drivers have been used already.
Yeah, and the last race, you have a points multiplier as well, don't forget. So even if you are, ahead by a vast yawning chasm of a gap, there is still the 90-minute Barcelona race in which to recover some points, and it's worth more. So, Peterson, of course, has got that 15-second penalty to serve. He's 8 seconds ahead of Grosh at the moment. Don't forget, David Schuten's already pitted, and he's done his. I think he had 10 seconds. He's already served that. So I've just been having a bit of a look in the background at data and times. It is evident to me that tyres are cooked for anyone that hasn't been in the pits. Their best lap times that they set for most of the drivers are in the 41s. A lot of them are lucky to be still in the 42s for the times that they're setting at the moment. 42.9, 42.5, 42.1. So a lot of them at the sharp end are about 3 or 4 tenths at least off their best times. So halfway mark makes sense to pit right about now, but for some of them, they won't want to pit and come out into traffic. So you might see a little bit of strategy come into play now with some drivers extending their stops. They'll suffer the pain now, but they might recover that in track position later on.
That's it. It's like walking on Lego bricks at this point. You've just got to try and get to the end of the road. Don't sit down. It's going to hurt more. Tomo Malami, and Nico Lawrence, Flynn Van Holland, David Roth, and Nicholas Porras pulled into the pits. So they're getting their pit stops done and dusted. That's going to allow David Schutzen to go up into 17th position. He was leading out those that have completed their first pit stops. Wasn't the first one to dive into the pits though. There was others that had to do some major repair work to their cars. Going back up to 11th and 12th though, Skurt Reynolds and Sebastian Luxon. Now these two earlier had contact with one another. Now they're back in for the fight. But I'm seeing Christian Goth, Michael Castro, Ernest Umbriggs, Nicholas Cora, Jens Nelson all pulling into the pits. Another set of drivers getting in there, and it looks like pit lane becoming rather busy, where it's not just one car going in, you're having 3 or 4. And to aim for your pit box is the hardest one, as Sebastian Luxon dives into the pits. He was baiting Skurt Reynolds to just go that little bit longer, dives in quickly, gets it done and dusted, and now the driver's having to really carry on their run. The likes of Rolotsky, Flo Scub, and Sean Skitter are in a little bit of no man's land, as we do see Flo pulling into the pits. He's trying to get his pit stop done and dusted, but for the likes of Rolotsky and Skitter, they were sitting in between those that have already gone into the pits. Not going to help him out on the running of this, as we now below the halfway mark. How long can you still stretch it out on the tank? How are those track limits looking like? What's your tires looking like? What's your fuel's looking like? And the next thing, what are the drivers looking like? Fatigue will be kicking in. A lot of people think sim racing is, since you're not doing a lot of activity, you're not running around, you're not experiencing all those major G-forces on you, but you tend to forget about that you are mentally taking a hit. You're concentrating on a screen that can be flickering at from 60 hertz, which is 60 milliseconds, going through your eyes to 120, 240. So your eyes are taking a bit of a beating and start to dry out. You're taking that deep breath. You're also just trying to refocus. Your throat's getting dry. Your arms are fighting with the steering wheel, depending on the variation of your force feedback. You may be having a little bit too much of the force feedback, and you get that buildup of lactic acid. You're also trying to feel for minute movements in your pedals and in your steering wheel. So now you're thinking a little bit more, and that lands up wearing out as we do see our first drive through of the race, and that is Sebastian Luxon, who has been one of our most aggressive drivers out on track this evening, and unfortunately first of those to experience the track limit wrath, and that is going to be a critical warning to the entirety of the field.
He's just come out the pits as well, so I'm just looking back to see where I think he might have got that. I'm looking at the replay. I'll let you know if I spot anything obvious. But yeah, when you talked about fatigue, it's quite easy to forget that these drivers are trying to focus on multiple things as well. It's the mental fatigue. If you're involved in a battle for that long, it will start to take its toll on you. The drivers will definitely start to feel that about now. I've not seen where Lucason's actually done anything wrong there, so we might have to ask him at the end of the race what happened.
Well, we got Paul Fenter and Flo Scub on top of one another. Camilleson joining in the fight. A big, interesting factor, though. We talked about David Schutten and his pit stop. He is now behind Christian Goth in it, but David Schutten was stopped in the box for 44.2 seconds, where Christian was 32. Now, we do know that he had that extra little bit of time that he needed to serve in the pit stop, but it has proven to be quite a bit of a detriment, as now he is no longer leading those that have pulled into the pits, as Christoph Peterson. Darius pulls into the pits as well, and Martin Spritzer and Sean Skitter look like they're going to still continue on yet another lap, as we still keep an eye on Camilleson pushing Paul Fenter. Rolotsky with a stop-go 30-second penalty added onto his running, and he was running second of our gold. Chris, how on earth... Now, we talked about drive-thrus coming from track limits, but a stop-go 30-second for those that have never experienced the pain, and hopefully you never do, because that's like kicking your pinky toe on the corner of the bed at 3 o'clock in the morning, but you're not allowed to shout, otherwise you're going to wake up your partner. Take us through how on earth you're going to get that stop-go 30-second.
A stop-go 30, you will typically incur the wrath of such a big penalty for having the audacity to speed in the pit lane, even if it's only slightly over. So what the tracker does, there is a line on pit entry. If the back of your car is exceeding the speed limit, and it takes it off the very last part of your car to enter the pit entry line, and if you're over the speed limit, you get a stop-go 30. Some tracks, it's less painful than others. Unfortunately, at Imola, it's very painful. It's a long pit lane here. You've got to go through the pit lane within the first 3 laps of incurring the penalty. You've got 3 laps to do it, and you've got to sit there with your pit limiter on all the way through the pits, and then stop for 30 seconds and then go again. And let me tell you, it's nearly worth a lap here at Imola. It is that much of a painful penalty. It is a long time to be stationary.
It's one of those moments, it feels like the teacher just sent you to the corner and told you to think about it while you're taking that slow walk past everyone in the front of the class, and everyone's just looking at you, and you're like, oh, just stop looking at me, guys, please. But definitely hurts out there. David Schutten, though, on the back of Christoph Peterson. Now, Christoph did do his pit stop, but Christian Goth, out of everyone, is currently leading by 8 seconds. He's completed his pit stop, and he's 8 seconds ahead of Christoph Peterson and David Schutten, who are now fighting each other with Michael Castro a second behind. This is going to work in favor of the 898 BMW that is trying to pull away from Christoph Peterson, a multiple champion here in ERA. David Schutten, who is literally the police right now, going and chasing down the likes of the Honda. This actually is JDM tuning in the Honda, trying to run away from your stereotypical police, the big burly V8 that is hunting you down, and then you've got the German going and chasing through with the big Mercedes.
All over again, really, isn't it? Yeah, that's what it is. This is the old "you promised me a 10-second car" sort of scenario that we're seeing. But yeah, Christian didn't have a success penalty to serve in the pit stop, so that's. I mean, he's up there on virtue of being bloody quick anyway. He is a very, very, very fast driver, is Christian. But yeah, he's got a 9-second gap now ahead of Peterson. And let me tell you, as fast as Peterson is, that 9-second gap is large. He's going to really struggle to bring him back in. But we'll see what he does. Stranger things have happened.
Well, I think it's going to be a tough one because Peterson now switching his focus. Schutten and Castro still in the mix there. I want to point out Mahath Musa's not too far behind, but big call-outs. Nicholas Cora ahead of Darius with Jens Nelson constantly on the back of him. And we have got a gold driver just sitting out of the top 5 at Currens, who is in for a huge run. Hanso Foss running in 12th, so he's 6 positions out of it. Simon Kusat going after Malami, who are running in 10th and 11th respectively for their class, 1st and 2nd, with Martin Spritzer down in 15th position. Nico Lawrence is running 3rd in the golds, is down in 17th. So we have got a huge array of change up as David trying to go around the outside of Christoph Peterson. That was definitely a huge look on his part. And this Mustang is now getting some huge legs on the Honda, but that has brought Michael Castro into the fray as well. And let's see if the turbocharged, twin turbo of the little Honda is going to engage the VTEC, because he has got 2 absolutely brutal, naturally aspirated V8s that can attack the curbs a lot harder than him, going and mounting the pressure on one another. But also, slowly but surely, Mahath Musa is gaining 0.2, 0.1 of a second through each of the corners and closing down the gap the more that these 3 fight it out. And Christian Goth, all that he needs to do is maintain those 141s. Yes, it sounds easier to just say it, but to be on that edge the whole time without any mistake is one of the hardest things you can do now that the track sitting at 39 degrees, your temperatures in the tires have gone through the roof. Drivers have really been pushing it for quite some time now. 41 minutes of pure racing. This excludes the time they were practicing beforehand, which could be hours. The time before going and doing qualifying as well. These drivers have been in the seat for a minimum of 2.5 hours currently by the end of this race.
Yeah, it's certainly been a taxing evening for a lot of the drivers. Imola is one of those tracks where you can't really relax at any point in the lap, even during the main straight. You've still got little turns to make and you're still worrying about your gear changes and such. I've just been watching a few fights a little bit further down the field. Lewis Knight and Camille Hassan got a bit close. Lewis just failing to have that little bit of a, what would you call it, rough side to him. He sometimes is a little bit too nice, I think, but he backed out of that move with Camille. And I'm watching Darius and Nick Correa now at the moment. They get very close towards the end of the lap, but it doesn't look like Darius is trying too hard against him. I don't think he's really that bothered about getting past him, but the more he sits behind him, the more Jens Nilsson starts approaching the back of these two as well. So these 3 might come together very soon. We might see another little battle.
Do you think Darius at this point is just trying to keep the car alive? Now, we do know the Nissan GTR can get rather harsh on its tires, especially as the conditions get warmer and warmer, as we do have yellow flags for the 420. Paul Fenter going and spinning out and able to get himself going. Paul Fenter down in 27th position. Unfortunately, not having a good time out there, has seen his tail more than once during the course of this week, and it looks like even on the Sunday, it's still coming to be as Michael Castro, big look on the inside of David Schutten, trying to see if he can just put the nose in, unfortunately backing out. But going back to it, do you think Darius at the moment is not able to attack as hard as he would like compared to the likes of Nicholas, who's got that rotation underneath him? The McLaren, we do know, has some serious rotation if you get it all dialed in. But for the likes of the Nissan GTR, track gets warmer, that car tends to battle more.
Yeah, so don't forget with the cars that are turbocharged as well, they will struggle a little bit more for power in these hot conditions. The naturally aspirated cars will probably do a little bit better now it's warm. Yeah, oh, by the way, it's Miguel Castro. I renamed him last week, just an FYI. But yeah, one thing that, might be stopping him from battling too hard, and I think a lot of drivers, if we speak to them after the race, is track limits. So you might see a couple of these drivers on 2 or 3 track limit warnings already. They will now be driving probably about 95% because they won't want that drive-through penalty. So that might be why he's standing position.
As we do jump on board the rear wing of the McLaren, Nicholas trying to keep it all together, and we can actually see that Darius is trying to slow the Nissan GTR down a lot quicker into the corners. He does attack the curbs and then battles to bring the car back as it understeers, and he is really fighting to keep it all in check. But we do have a bit of contact that has occurred between David Schutten and Michael Castro, and now Mahath Musa has come to play. They've lost Christoph Peterson, who's now 7.3 seconds behind Christian Goff, but Castro now doing everything he can. The Los Pantos Hermanos now dealing with the police, and this is going to be a bit of a tough time. Gotta say, interesting. You've got the Los Pantos Hermanos going and fighting out with the police. Generally, that sounds like it should be a action comedy sort of program or movie, I would think. A bit of contact.
Sounds like the name of a prog rock band, doesn't it? The Los Patos Hermanos featuring the police. It sounds like someone's about to walk out of a ukulele. But yeah, I've just been on board with Miguel Castro, as I've now called him. He's scrubby always. Yeah, he was late on the brakes there, to be fair. It looked like anyway. He was drifting that Mercedes a considerable amount, so he's doing a lot of damage to those tyres.
Yeah, no, I think that is pretty much done and dusted, and enjoying the sandy beaches of Imola. Now having to sit behind Mahath Musa. There was also a bit of contact a little bit further back with the 51, and it looks like that might have been contact with Jens Nelson. So no, it was Nicholas Cora. Yeah. So let's see.
51 is Darius, yeah.
Yeah, Darius looks on the inside, jumps over the curbs, a little bit unsettled. He goes out wide, trying to return, and Jens gets a good run. Now stuck behind Nicholas. Contact between the two, and Jens into the wall. Lamborghini now second hand. Well, that ball is definitely needing to get sorted out. It had too much of an argument in the bullfight, and unfortunately, against Godzilla, it didn't quite win the fight. The McLaren of Nicholas was rather lucky to stay out of that. He was just far enough ahead, but unfortunately for Jens, who was trying to turn out and get across Darius's nose, misjudged how much room he actually had to play with there.
Yeah, and it's not the widest of tracks here, Emily. You can race side by side, but just because of the nature of the little kinks that the track has and the way that you approach some of the corners, you have to be careful of the space that not only you're going to get from another driver, but that you're leaving another driver as well. I'm just currently looking at Skirt Reynolds, who is now on the back of Sean Scudder. This isn't for a class position, but he's trying to chase down Martin Spitzer with 12 minutes left of the race. He's got about 5 seconds to catch the Lamborghini driver, and that's for the last of the podium positions in Platinum, which Skirt will be quite eager to get a hold of.
He's capitalising on some points there, but he's also got to be well aware that Flo Scub is a little bit back, but still can be a viable threat if a mistake tends to happen, which towards the end of the race seems to be a more predominant thing for our drivers as the tires start dropping off a cliff. The fatigue gets in worse and worse, but we do have our first retirement of the race, and that is Paul Fenter, who is retired out of tonight's race after his spin. We go a little bit further back and we see Petrobras in 19th. He has got Flo Scub. Looked for the inside line and is going to go for the send. The Honda getting a little bit squirrely under braking. But the the Honda NSX or the Acura NSX, depending on which part of the world you are, gets ahead of the BMW. And great running there. Out of curiosity, Chris, do you know what BMW stands for?
Yes.
What does it stand for?
Do you want the sarcastic answer, or do you want the real answer?
Well, you can give the sarcastic answer.
No, I'm not gonna use the LBM. No, it's a it's a Bayerschirken Motorenwerke. I mean, the Germans in the chat will be creasing right now, but it's Bayer Schurken Motorenwerker, something like that.
Yep, you did right.
And as an Englishman, I absolutely butcher the pronunciation of anything. But yeah, I think that's what it goes for.
And broken
Just
most
a
weekend.
side note, by the way, there's been a bit of contact a little bit further back between Skirt and Flo.
So let's quickly go and take a look. That is the number 98 that landed up with that bit of contact. And let's go back in a quick replay as we do. That was Skirt Reynolds fighting it out with Sean Skitter. And looks like it was Skitter and Leiter Reynolds had a meeting of the minds. The American muscle, getting turned in onto by the Honda, the Japanese, going and giving a little bit of a harikiri across the nose of Skirt Reynolds, who's now lost out to Flowscup, and Patrick's got into the fight as well. Camille's son's in the mix there. Lewis Knight not too far back off it as well. So we did see a bit of a hard hit there, and I think there's a few words that are going to be said to one another. Monspritzer trying to keep on the back of Jason Farmer, running in 14th position. He's hoping to have a good result this evening. But out in front, Christian Goth, 6.4 seconds ahead of Christoph Peterson, who's so far blazing time. Set the fastest lap time of the race with a 1:41.007. You know, Mr. 007 himself, who keeps on the run. David Schutten dealing with Mahath Musa. Mahath, who's had a bit of an up and down season, is now in for the fight. It looks like he's kept the tires alive a little bit longer and gets the run on the Mustang. Is this going to be it? The inline 6 of the BMW M4, the big grill letting in all the air that's needed here on an extremely hot day, will go around the outside of David Schutten, who's late on the anchors, and they're still going side by side. Turn 1, turn 2. And that is sausage curb. Goodbye. Mike must have turned around. Schutten going and losing out, and Michael Castro going and rubbing his hands together, stayed close enough for the fight, stuck the pressure in, and capitalized like there is no tomorrow.
That is because you were just saying that Mahath Musa's had a little bit of an up and down season, and I was just about ready to say that that's pretty much been caused by your power grids over there in South Africa. They don't seem very reliable, and he's definitely come a cropper with that a little bit. But yeah, the sausage curbs have done him dirty there as well.
That was definitely
a little bit further back. Martin Spitzer's making some moves up through the field. He's just got past Skitty and someone else, and Skirt Reynolds is trying to make his way back through as well. So there's battles happening all through the field here.
Now it's getting a bit wild. Flowscup doing everything he can to defend against Skirt Reynolds, and they are fighting for class position, and both looking to score big for their championship. And what you need to do is just absolutely elbows out, knees and toes racing to carry on through. But I am still waiting. I am counting down 7 minutes and 47 seconds. And I won't lie. I'm going to really just hope that Christian Goth in the little BMW up ahead may be able to break the streak of Christoph Peterson. We talk about in WWE had the Undertaker's undefeated streak. Well, that's pretty much Christoph Peterson. To break that streak means that you've really managed to get that climb. And even though he had 15 seconds, he's closed up the gap that he's 6 seconds behind the leader. He was stopped in the box for 48.3 seconds versus the competition only stopped for 32 seconds. He has made a tremendous bit of headway, but if Christian Goth can ensure that he finishes up in first place, his timing on the pit stop was absolutely perfect. Pitting a lap after David Schutten has done enough to get himself into the top spot and would be another victory here at Imola. So far, for the last 2 seasons in a row, Imola has given us a new winner in each class. And everyone trying to get that little bit of a run as Flowscup all over the show, and a little bit of contact with Skirt Reynolds. He loses out of position, and immediately Camille gets on by around the outside. Beautiful pass, and we will see Patrick doing exactly the same. Looks for the inside. Skirt Reynolds has a race that he is not wanting to be a part of. Flo rejoins the circuit, immediately has the Aston Martin all over the back of him, and Skirt Reynolds getting a little bit frustrated. The red mist starting to creep in as 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd are all closing within a second of one another. This is getting absolutely wild between the races.
Yeah, I do worry that Skirt is driving angry right now. The body language that car's projecting is one of sheer frustration. And if you let the red mist descend, it never ends well. He just honestly just needs to take a breather. It's only a race. He can still get some points on the board. Just finish the race clean. What I was going to just talk about was the Peterson and Gouache thing. So Peterson, when he came out of the pits, was about 10 seconds back. He's just brought that down to 5 seconds, but we've got 5 minutes left of the race. If they continue at their current pace divide, Peterson won't get him in time. He's only really going a few tenths a lap quicker than Christian, but Christian is doing enough at the moment. Christian just basically needs to make sure he doesn't get a drive-through penalty now. That's what his focus has got to be.
Well, this battle is getting lively for 18th, 19th, and all the way down as Skirt Reynolds looking all over. Oh, contact! Skirt Reynolds into the back of Camille. That has created the Constantina effect. Patrick getting caught out, and that is... would that be Nicholas Porras, who's gotten the drive on Lewis Knight, capitalizing on the run, and it does look like Camille has pulled off the circuit. Camille has pulled off the circuit. Oh no, please don't tell me so. It looks like Camille may have just retired the car in the last 4 minutes of the race after that rear contact from Skirt Reynolds that put him into the sand. And
he was having a good race as well, Camille. He was battling hard and he was really putting that Aston Martin to work tonight. It'd be a shame if he retires with just 4 minutes to go.
It looks like he may have done it, but knowing that, come on, we got to get that car back in the race. It has to. It can't end that way. Not for him after such a phenomenal drive and really putting in the work there. Skirt Reynolds misjudging his brake marker, trying to get past the likes of Flo Scub and Camille in the remaining minutes of the race, has unfortunately put him out of it. Oh, man, that is just a detriment to it and not what we want to see. You spoke about that red mist, once it descends, it can create a problem. Well, unfortunately, that little bit of a misjudge in such a tight pack, which is easy to do, might I add. It's very, very easy to do because you're getting swallowed up.
Yeah, we've all done it. We've all misjudged braking markers and such. And when you're following behind a car so closely, it's very easy to do it. We sit here in the commentary box and we can talk all we want, but we're not there in the car. So it's hard to say what actually is going on. But what I can definitely tell you is that it would have been a genuine mistake. It's just one of those things. Unfortunately, we never like to see cars retire out of the race, as I'm sure you know. We have lost a couple at Imola. Imola has claimed a couple of victims, but this is starting off a little bit of a train now. So Flo and Skirt are battling away for genuine position in class, but then there's Belez, Knight, and Pawah who are battling for gold positions as well.
And take a look at Nicholas in the top 5. If he can continue this pace, he will be a gold getting into the top 5 and being one of the very few golds that have managed to do this all season long. And I've got to say, genuinely impressed by Nicholas at the moment. He's leading out his class, but I'm still going to say, you asked me at the start of the race, nearly an hour back, what do I think is going to be that huge run? And so far, in the Bentley, 12th position means he's in that top 15 and is on a podium spot. That is genuinely awesome. Being the only Bentley in the field, he's in no man's land at the moment. He is 4 seconds ahead of Ruben Heineke. He's 5 seconds behind Simon. But man, oh man, that is what I was expecting from the Bentley, because that's how it stuffed me over in my races in years gone by. Bentley's are OP.
You also called Collier's top 5 as well.
Yep. Well,
You also
no,
said that he'd get a top 5. So
that's it. I'm going to go for the lotto, guys. Guess what?
yeah, you need to put the lottery on, mate, because I think you'll be able to predict the right numbers at this point. Yeah, what a drive! And Voss isn't just in 12; he's second in class, but the gap between him and Lawrence, who is P3 in class, is it's about 20 seconds. It's huge. So Voss has had a genuinely superb race in that Bentley. Genuine good pace throughout. It's just kept his nose clean. I don't think I've seen him involved in any carnage at all. Yeah, he's just had a really good race. As we see Skirt Reynolds and Flo Scub go to war, and that's letting Bellez in on the action as well. And Lewis Knight hopefully has now developed his mean streak and will be rubbing his hands at the prospect of picking up some positions ahead of him as well.
Well, looks like it, because Lewis Knight got the run. He got a little bit unsteady, and Nicholas Porras joining in the fray as well. As we do see Skirt Reynolds got the pass done. Lewis Knight hard on the brakes, eating the sausage curb, trying to get ahead of Patrick Bowles. We did hear our leader is on his last lap and will be giving it everything he can. The 898 will be trying to get down for the victory. Lewis Knight late on the brakes. Patrick, nowhere to go. A little bit of contact, a little bit of rubbing and racing. And then Nicholas tries to put his nose in. David Roth joining in the fight with Finn Van Holland as well. These drivers are throwing it. Hammer and tongs. Roth getting the run. And the likes of Nicholas, Patrick in the tow, Finn Van Holland in the mix. This has turned into a wild train. Flo has got a little bit of a run.
One lap shootout. It's a one-lap shootout, Stephen. It's the last lap now. So, yeah, one lap to go. David Roth sends one up the inside, doesn't get it slowed down in time, and that's going to let Flynn in on the action. This is all kicking off now for the last. My God, for the last positions. I'll keep an eye on this.
Well, as they fight their way through, I mean, this goes back to some good old karting action where you are just nose to tail, no one's got an advantage, and you're going to fight it out. But ladies and gentlemen, taking the checkered flag, Christian Goch goes and breaks the streak of Christoph Peterson, taking first. Peterson will take second place, the first time he's not taking the checkered flag in first this entire season. And Flo Scub gets a drive-through penalty. Scub's got a drive-through penalty. No. Castro takes third, but Scub with a drive-through penalty at the last is now going to be out of it. As we return to Patrick on the back of Lewis Knight, we do see in the background Nicholas, David Roth, and Finn Van Hollen chasing each other, but Scub will be abusing the third pedal on his rig. If he hasn't got one, well, you're going to have a new piece of bent aluminium of note on that sim rig. But on the way through, Flynn Van Hollen trying his luck to send the 992 GT3R Porsche at the likes of David Roth, but can't get the drive on him. Keeping it nice and close, though, will come across the line. 30 seconds will be added on to Flo's Cub's time. But the big talking points here, Nicholas Cora gets 5th place into that top 5, first in his class. Hunter Fast gets 2nd in his class. Done a phenomenal job. What a race and a half. What a wild time. And honestly, what an exciting Imola. And round 6 has come to a close with so much to talk about. The highs, the lows, the dramas, the thrills, the spills. We had everything get thrown at us, Chris. I mean, there was nowhere you could look up and down through the field and say, well, not much is going on.
I mean, Imola delivers once again. It's one of those racetracks that a lot of drivers, I think I said at the start, it's a bit marmite for some drivers, but I'll tell you what, it always delivers a race full of drama. I'm quite surprised we didn't see more drive-throughs. I think we only saw 2 throughout the race, which, yeah, probably leads me to believe a lot of drivers might have been on the best behaviour. But some special shout-outs. Corrier's up 5 positions, finishing in P5 overall. Hanzo Voss, he was up 11 places. So was, I think, Farmer was up a considerable amount of places as well. So a lot of drivers having a really good time out of there tonight. Some not so much. That's racing, good and bad luck. But what a race we've just witnessed, Stephen. I can't wait to talk to some of these drivers, and I bet a few of them, if they had a smartwatch on, the heart rate is through the roof right now.
They would be calling the latest. They would be calling the ambulances and notifying the hospitals at this point, much like mine, as we do have
Yeah.
one of our drivers first to come in, and wasn't first to take the line, but is definitely one of the first drivers to come and have a chat to us, and is our multiple champion for the first time this season. Streak finally broken. Christoph Pearson, and already looking by his picture out here, he's hard at thought. There's so much Shakespeare going through that head. Chris, welcome to the commentary box. What a race out there. Extremely hot temperatures, close racing, and at the end, just losing out behind Christian Goth, but not by much.
Yeah, I think I kept it cool the whole race. I was really calm the whole race. I was surprised myself. And I think that's what got me into P2 because it was so close. Like, first of all, congrats to Christian Grosch. Like, really, really good drive. Knew that he didn't need the pace to get in front, or like that ultimate little bit of pace that was between us. And yeah, I think that's his first win in ERA. We had it coming for a long time. He was in front since 2 seasons, basically. So congrats.
Well, let's talk about qualifying. That's where I want to first touch on, because it looked like you weren't going to be starting on the front row. Was there a little bit of a gremlin in the back of the head saying, running out of time here and I'm not making up a bit of time? Was there concern of losing out that front row?
Well, it was basically the chicane because, like, I struggled a lot in practice with that chicane, like the I don't know how it's called, the third one, basically, in the third sector. And I figured out a safe line to go through it, to not bounce away, basically. But in qualifying, like in the last lap, or like the last 2 laps, I thought to myself, okay, I'm gonna yeet it over the chicane now. I'm not gonna take the safe line anymore. And suddenly there was the 46.6, I think, in the last sector, and suddenly I had that 40.6 lap that I was already able to do last season. I just kind of lost that skill to go over there. And yeah, and then the race pace was also great. I did basically the same trick as at the Red Bull Ring again and lowered my wing a bit because I knew I was racing Mustangs and BMWs, and that worked so well, even better than at Red Bull Ring. I think at the first part of the straight and on the short straights I was actually faster than the Mustang, which helped me a lot when I came out of the pits and on cold tires, and David was all over me basically. So yeah, it was really nice race.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
through the
Really nice
speed traps, the Honda was undoubtedly the slowest. I think 264 through the speed trap, whereas the Nissans and the Mustangs were hitting 270. So I was actually going to follow up on that and just say, did you set your car up to look after its tyres, aka utilise the downforce a little bit more cleverly, or did you rip the wing off and just go, I'm just going to full send this?
Yeah, I mean the latter. Like, the top end wasn't that great, but it was also not that far off from like BMW and stuff. And it was really like the first part of the straight. I actually measured it in practice, like looked at the other guys' laps and stuff. And until basically the middle of the straight, just after the finish line, the Honda was quickest. So that was basically my trick to stay in front here. And I'm really happy that worked.
I mean, that's a winning mentality right there. Just going ripping data from other cars just to figure out what you need to do. That's how you become a champion, ladies and gents. But yeah, you know, you had that penalty to overcome again during the start of the race. Were you trying to outdrive it, or did you always know you'd have a bit of a fight on your hands for this one?
I was not thinking about the result much actually this time. Like, I knew I'm at Imola, maybe not the overall quickest, and that it would be very difficult to overcome that penalty, because I knew already in practice that there were so many people that were able to do these times. And I basically only looked at Limburgs because he's my main rival in the championship. So I looked at him and saw, okay, in the first stint, I managed to pull these 10 seconds on him that I needed. And that was basically it. And everything that came afterwards was a bonus because I had my title, basically.
Nice, all right. Well, one more race to go. We don't have to go far from Italy to Spain this time. We're staying around the Mediterranean. What's your hopes and dreams for the final race at Barcelona?
Lots of fun because Barcelona is a great track for the Honda. It's a great track for me, and the mixed conditions are also great for the car. So yeah, I hope to have a fun last race of the season. It's also 90 minutes, so a lot more strategy involved. I think that will be enjoyable.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. And before we let you go, and Chris going and analyzing all the data, I've got to say it's fantastic having a pro driver in the commentary box and to have just that extra bit of thoughts of what's going on. Always fantastic and working it out. But Chris, gotta mention anything you would like to say to our amazing partners here at ERA that's been with us from day dot, and to the incredible spectators that have flown across the world going and attending the races here at ERA in the virtual grandstands, to all the teams, the drivers out there, the new drivers especially coming into the world of ERA and getting to do battle against some of the best in the world, and also to have a bit of fun making friends.
Yeah, keep watching, guys. I hope you're still enjoying the season, and welcome to all our new drivers. Like, we have a lot of South African influx lately from the GSRT guys. So yeah, welcome. I hope you had fun in Era so far, and yeah, let's make the last race of the season a great one too.
Absolutely incredible.
Also, thanks to you, Steven, and thanks to you, Chris, for commentating. I'm sure the stream will be great to rewatch.
Well, you've got Chris. I mean, he can serenade you with an angel's voice. My one is more that alarm clock at 6 o'clock in the morning that you want to throw up against the wall. But Chris, thank you so much on it, and well done. I don't think the championship is just in the bag as yet. There's still a little bit, one race to go. Anything can happen through it all, but well done, Mr. Peterson, on a stunning race, nonetheless, here at Imola. Wow.
Well done, Chris.
Okay, Mr. Wall. I mean, there is so many we need to talk to, and so many drivers that have just an abundance of stories. Who would you like to go next?
I would like to hear from, of course, Christian Grosch, who has taken the overall win tonight. He's not been too present this season. I think he's had a lot of other things going on outside of racing, so it's good to see him back in the sim and with now a trophy to add to his cabinet. Christian, welcome to the commentary booth. Thanks for being patient with respect to Chris there. Congratulations on the win. We think was this your first win in ERA altogether? If you're speaking, we can't hear you.
The excitement got to him.
So now you can hear me?
Yes,
we can hear you now, yep.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's my first win in the second season. This was quite a good one for me. I had a good day and was a little bit lucky with the success penalties because I didn't race too much this season, as you mentioned. Only my second race, but I'm quite happy with the pace today. And yeah, it was a lovely drive.
Okay,
you still have to execute it, though. You know, we can talk about luck all we want, and I think a lot of times in racing, luck does come into it, but you've still got to execute it. So, you know, well done for executing it at what is quite a tough track, to be fair.
Yeah. I struggled last season in the Mustang in the race pace, and I wanted to do some changes. Some of my mates from LPH gave me the tip, maybe you can try the BMW, and I was not so happy in the beginning, but now I'm starting to get in the groove, and I'm not that fast on a hot lap, but in the race pace it's quite better, and I'm really happy, and I take this one home today. It's good.
Okay, I've got a question. Are you a Max Verstappen fan?
Yeah, you heard it. Yeah. I'm a Verstappen fan. Yeah.
That whole moment.
Guilty.
It was a lovely day. You won the race. You went and got Christoph's streak broken. That is just excitement through the roof. And look, you've had a rough season, but honestly, the fight through the race, your climb through it all, your incredible pace in it, you gained 2 positions of the start of the race. You qualified third, but through the traffic, because you got caught up in some monstrous battles ahead of you and trying to maneuver your way through. How was the car feeling, and what was the mindset to get through some of these battles?
Yeah, the mindset was to have a clean race. Imola is quite special for dirty racing. It's quite harsh, like the T1, a big braking zone, fast corner. That can happen very often incidents. And the plan was to get it nicely done, clean, and to be very consistent with the pace. Don't overdrive the tires. I knew like David Schuten and Chris got the success penalties, so I didn't need too much pushing on the tires, and I went pretty long with my first run and was lucky when I'm coming out from the pits. I had clean air for most of the time, and yeah, that was the game plan. Stick to a consistent pace and try to get like the podium. And I'm very happy with the P1. It's great.
Absolutely.
Well, you did just that, and Chris, who was with us just before and in chat, has just said a beautifully executed race, and I agree as well. What's the word? You absorbed the pressure when you needed to absorb the pressure, and you delivered the constant lap times when you needed to deliver the constant lap times, and that's how you take wins in this league. So well done.
Yeah, thank you guys. And as I saw in the chat, like Chris has like 32 points ahead. So basically, he has the championship in the pocket. So congratulations to him. That's quite nice. 5 times in a row. That's quite an achievement. So congratulations. And maybe I have some more time next season, so I can challenge him a little bit more.
Please, that would be great. Someone needs to stop that six crown from going on the back of his car.
Yeah. That's not good for all of us.
I know, right?
It is how it is. It is how it is.
Make server one great again. That's what I say. Anyway, sorry, Steve.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. Well, Christian, you had a phenomenal run, and well, with it being your first time in the commentary box for the season, anything you would like to say to our amazing partners here at ERA that have been backing the whole way? They've been going absolutely mad on the grandstands, along with all our amazing drivers, the teams out there, most importantly, the petrol heads out in the virtual grandstands. I'm sure when you were going through on the last lap, you could see them all standing and cheering you on, and getting to see the Los Pentos Hermanos finally scoring that top spot, finally getting the win after so much fighting. And considering it's the team that stuck in a huge amount of work to even create a video explaining how the 3 ducks came to be.
Yeah. Thank you, Steven. Thank you, Chris, for the probably amazing commentary. I will watch it back tomorrow. Thank you to my teammates. Congratulations to Mike, who finished like P3, to Shimon and to Flo. And yeah, Los Patos Hermanos. Thank you guys for all the commentary, and have a nice evening.
Thank you very much.
Good, mate. Well done.
Thank you.
You could hear the Max Verstappen. It was a lovely drive. I mean, you won 3.4 seconds. I mean, lovely drive. Okay, that's obviously when you're just at that level. You know how to bring the excitement down. That's probably why I've landed in the wall a few times. Chris, you've taken the top spot more than once, so you're probably also under that very calm, cool demeanor. Or do you think
not
that's
in a
just
while,
for the camera?
I'm afraid. Not in a while. And Christian was one of the guys that I remember. Me and him had a really good battle at Brands Hatch in the finale last season. And let me tell you, that boy knows how to make someone sweat. He was pretty much glued to my backside for 15 minutes, and it was one of the most, to this day, remains one of the most stressful times of my life. And I've got an 11-year-old kid, so yeah, he certainly knows how to drive, that guy. So it's good to see him get a win, though. He's a genuinely nice bloke as well. I love to see it.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Well, Chris, who's next? I mean, I'm just seeing a huge amount of drivers that are all lined up. All of them with fantastic stories to tell, and just some incredible racing that we have just witnessed for over an hour on circuit.
Let's speak to the the reformed Tiger Woods himself, the king of golf, Tarmo Malmi. Let's get him up into the commentary booth after what was a great result for him in the BMW. Tarmo, welcome to the commentary booth. We've got some aircon up here, so hopefully you've cooled down after that race a little bit. Nearly 40 degrees on track, probably a little bit hotter in that car as well. How are you feeling after that one?
Yeah, thank you for the invite to the booth, and congrats to Chris, first of all, on the Diamond overall win. But yeah, I wouldn't call myself Tiger Woods, by the way. That's kind of too much. At least it was a bit hotter on the track today than on the golf course. Yeah.
Definitely. A good result for you overall. You certainly put in the other platinum guys under some pressure at the moment. How are you feeling going into the final race now after you've got Imola out of the way? I know you were a little bit. I'm not going to say nervous, but you were a little bit on the fence about how Imola would go because I don't think you've had as much time to practice for this one, have you? That you normally do. So a bit of reduced prep time, but you still delivered. And that's
I didn't have any expectations to this one, as I said last week as well that I've been moving and I've still been organizing stuff here. So the practice time pretty much got halved in what I normally do. And also the practice laps were kind of here and there, so I didn't actually got any good concentration there. But yeah, anyways, I'm happy with the 10th overall and the platinum win. It was amazing result. I didn't expect this one, to be honest. But about the race, I managed to get the great qualifying results, which helped pretty much to plan the race pace. As once we lined up on the starting grid, I noticed that everyone else in platinum pretty much has penalties. So that was like a huge surprise to me. I didn't know that beforehand. So the race became mostly like maintaining gap to behind, as I knew I had like tremendous advantage against everyone else in the class.
Yeah, that definitely helped you, didn't it? Yeah, Stephen. Sorry, I'm taking over your interviews, mate, and I'm very cautious about that. So
No, Chris, you asked the right questions and absolutely incredible. See you again, Tomo. But with everything, obviously a little bit of a handicap coming in. Yes, that is just throwing in a golf term, just to point in of taking a look at some of the fights that you're involved in. You're having to just wait it out that little bit more. We saw that you actually were a bit reserved on some of your major attacks. Was it the plan just to protect the car, protect the tires, or was it just keeping an eye on who you actually battling in your class versus just going for an outright fight?
Yeah, good question. I actually wasn't concentrating on any fights, to be honest. If I think Skirt got past me like a few laps in because there was a fight in front of me and I had to avoid it. But even though Skirt got ahead of me, I wasn't too much concerned because he had 15 seconds penalties versus me. So I was just mostly protecting my car, no contacts to anyone, protecting the tires, just maintaining the gap. I didn't have any panic at all during the race, just keep my pace. I know it's enough, and just look at where the next platinum driver is and just keep the flow.
Well, you most certainly weren't puttering along, that is for certain. But Tomo, anything you'd like to say to our amazing partners here at ERA, to our amazing race fans that have been flying across the world, going and cheering you on from endurance racing all the way through to sprint racing in multiple different leagues out there? Anything you'd like to say to the amazing petrol heads here at ERA?
Well, yeah, thank you for everyone who are participating in ERA activities, the hosts in the casts, the admins, everyone who is contributing to this community. I think this is a nice place to be honest, and we always could use some new drivers as well. We need some new platinum drivers, I think we got 6 drivers today on the grid, so we need more. and we
I'll
have
be back
places for more. Yeah, I know. I'm waiting for that one, Chris.
I'll be back next season to keep you honest, mate. In the meantime, you can drive well both on and off the fairway. But
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, we had to.
I love the golf puns, by the way, Stephen.
We have to. Needless to say, I don't play golf very well. I can throw the ball further than I can hit it with the golf club. 9 times out of 10 lands in the sand, and 9 times out of 10 I'm going swimming in the pond, looking in the wrong area. But with that being said, Chris, you can't take it away. Tomo, great consistency through the race, running the 42 threes, 42 fours, and getting a top 10 overall, and the win for his class. That's a big run for him. But Chris, well, now we're getting to some nitty gritty fights that we saw down the order where drivers had to, well, get the elbows out. Who would you like to talk to next? Because all that we've got here currently getting attended to by some of the medics for some of the battle scars that they have worn on one another.
Well, I've only got the time to speak to one more person. I've got to run off. But the one driver that I would really like to speak to is Courier, who finished P5. You remember? But not only did he finish P5 in what was a competitive grid of over 30 cars, but he is technically, and I want to use the word technically because we all know he isn't, but he's a gold-rated driver. Nicholas, congratulations first of all for the win in gold, but that overall result made a lot of people sort of stand back and go, whoa, this guy's got some serious pace. Talk to me about that. You've got to be sweaty after that one.
Yeah, it was a really difficult race for me there. I got stuck with the diamonds pace, so I was fighting among them all, causing me to have incidents in lap 2 and in the final races. Real tough race. But yeah, I'm really happy about the place I finished and where I ended up in the track.
Yeah, so you mentioned the fighting diamond. So I was, throughout the race, I look at the battles on track, and one driver that you were preemptively glued to, or was glued to you for a lot of it, was Darius, who is a diamond. Were you actively engaged in a fight with him, or was there a part that thought, I can just let him go, it's not going to affect me? Like, what's the thought process when you are, you're in a battle, not in your class, so to speak, but you're entitled, I guess, to race. But what was your thought process going through that at the time?
Well, at the start, I was really just trying to push him, trying to make a mistake out of him. Realistically, I cared more about my position. I didn't want to make anything overestimating because they're not my class. I don't want to cause an incident where I'm ahead of my lead and I just don't want to lose the entire race. So I was always being cautious. However, Darius is a very fast driver. Raced him plenty of times, and it was really tough to keep him. I had pressure on him, but he took away from me. And then towards when I got ahead of him after the pit stop, it was a real fight towards the end.
Yeah, you only finished, I think, about 2 seconds apart from each other in the end of it.
Yeah, really.
Just grabbing that P5. That puts you in a bit of a commanding position in the gold division now. I know drivers like Lewis, for example, were really hoping to put pay to your progress tonight so that they could take the fight all the way to Barcelona.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts now going into that very important final round? I don't know what that does points wise. I've not looked yet, but it's got to put you in a commanding position.
Yeah, really excited going into Barcelona. I got a little worried about today. If I messed up, Lewis would have gotten closer and closer to gold, and so realistically, it was a very important race for me to win. I got lucky because in the last race I didn't get any succession penalties, so I got really lucky with pit stops and not having any penalties to deal with. So that brought me up to the lead. Had good pace throughout this week, so I was feeling really confident going into this track. But anything could happen next week in Barcelona, so
Yeah,
Who
I've
knows?
just looked. You take a 10-point lead into Barcelona. Of course, we've got the stewarding process to go through, so that's not including any penalties and such. But as it stands, you've got a 10-point lead going into the final race. A mixed conditions race at Barcelona where anything could happen. Any predictions or what are your thoughts at the minute? Then are you just going to see what happens and hope that the consistency pays off, or is there a plan? Not that
Well,
I expect you to tell us what that plan is, but it'd be nice.
generally my plan is the same always every week. I look at the track, see how the track feels, try to find the pace for each class, and overall just be the best I could possibly do, and hope nobody gets faster than me.
It's always the dream. Thank you. Thanks, Nicholas. Stephen, anything to add? So.
Oh, Nicholas, once again, congratulations, top 5, and if getting the gold in the gold division. Anything you'd like to say to our amazing petrol heads out there in the virtual grandstands and our partners here at ERA?
Thank you for obviously watching us race. Thank you for participating in races. We love the more people that come to this ERA races, the more fun it is for everyone else, because we love close battles. We love having tons of cars on track. And overall, just the participation, and thank you for the broadcasting. I always watch it, rewatch it. But yeah, I always love driving, and hope we can continue to grow.
Absolutely great stuff, Nicholas. Congratulations on your win in the gold and top 5. Chris, well, it's going to be your time to go and be a father and also get some sleep before the end. I'll continue on with the 2 drivers to come up and looking forward to that. But Chris, anything to sum up your thoughts of just tonight's action? 1 hour of nose to tail, tip to toe action, and right down to the wire. It was anyone's guess.
Yeah, I think we always go into these races knowing that there will be a percentage of drivers that are really happy, and then another percentage that obviously aren't. We definitely saw that here at Imola, but what it has done is it's kept a lot of the championship fights, especially for your platinums and your golds. It's kept that championship fight going to Barcelona. We always knew that if Christoph had a half decent result, that he pretty much wrapped this one up already. But at least we've got some spice going into the final round, and we did genuinely see some absolutely amazing racing tonight. And yeah, you need to go and put some lottery numbers on after this one, because you pretty much called 2 of the 3 big results right before the race even started.
I think I used up all my luck there, but Chris, absolutely phenomenal having you in the commentary box once again. For anyone that wants to take a look at the logistical nightmare racing driver, Chris Wall, races out in South Africa, races in a variety of leagues. Absolute tremendous chap to go and chat to. Chris, thank you once again for jumping into the commentary box, going and taking some time out behind the wheel to do something a little bit different, and showing off another skill that you have underneath your repertoire of just many, many different things. I think for getting rid of the 6th crown on the likes of Peterson's car is whoever designs a livery, just forget it. That might be the best option.
Yeah, just don't put it on. Yeah, that'll probably be best, because the guy seems to be on a charge at the moment. So yeah, whoever can do that, there's got to be some prizes in order for you, because it's going to take some big performances to stop Christoph from taking everything, I think.
That's it. Chris, thank you once again for joining us this evening
Thanks
here
for
at
having me.
Imola. An absolutely great time having him, and also just giving us some great insight into the racing as well. Let's have a chat to our final 2 drivers of the evening before we wrap up tonight's broadcast. And we're going to kick things off with right down in 11th position, had an almighty fight of note, and that is Mr. Simon Kussert, who will come up to the commentary box and have a bit of a chat. Simon, absolutely great evening for you, or morning or afternoon, depending on where we all around the world. But what a race. You had to work like there was no tomorrow, fighting it out top to bottom.
Hello. Yes, I have to admit that I was kind of lucky guy this race. The start was kind of hectic. There was a big train for 5-6 laps, and then suddenly one driver did a mistake. It was a crash, like 3-4 cars were involved, which created easy way for me to get some positions, and then I was just driving.
Well, you came into this race 6th in the Platinum Championship. You've scored well to get into that second. How are you feeling heading into the final round? You've managed to jump points ahead of Christian. You've gotten some points over Flo. I mean, this is now starting to get to the real tail end of the championship. Major points to be scored at Barcelona. Championship still alive for the top 3, and you're in that fight.
Well, I mean, those guys are fast, so it's gonna be definitely an interesting fight for us. I'm not a huge fan of Barcelona, so I need to do quite practice to get some pace, and we'll see how's it gonna be.
Absolutely, some great ones. If you had to take a moment out of the race that was just pure enjoyment for you, where would it be? Because, I mean, there were some proper highlight moments for your drive.
It was my fastest lap. First time ever I dipped into 41s in with race fuel. So I consider that as my small victory during the race. That would be the one moment for me, yeah.
Well, absolutely great stuff. And I wouldn't call it a small victory. I mean, 41 are extremely quick, and just displaying how much you have actually grown throughout the season. I mean, you haven't had the easiest of one. Suzuka, unfortunately, didn't get a points in. Red Bull Ring was a little bit of a low point on your entire championship, but to still hang in for the fight, I wouldn't call it being a small victory. That's a huge one, and you have developed through it all. And going to be living up to the nickname Baba Yaga very, very soon, and going and chasing down our Diamond Division. Anything you would like to go and say to our amazing partners here at ERA, to the amazing drivers, teams, and also just those race fans that lap after lap, you could see them cheering you on?
Yeah, I would like to thank everyone involved in making this happen. And I would also like to congratulate to Christian for having his first win, also to Mike for securing some points. Guys did a really good job, and yeah, that's it. Like, thanks to admins for keeping this up, and I really enjoy being in ERA, guys. Thank you so much for that.
Well, Simon, it's absolutely fantastic having you around. We love having you part of the family, and keep up the hard work. It is starting to show off in leaps and bounds, and we're going to soon be calling you the champion. So Simon, absolutely great stuff. But let's bring in our final talent of the night. Came into the championship leading out the Platinum Division and had a fight and a half. Martin Spritzer to come up and have a chat to us. And Martin, welcome to the commentary box. What a race. Let's take it off. You had to take some very, very interesting around the outside moves on a lot of your competitors into the marbles, into the dirt, fighting it out tooth and nail. I think you've got more bumps, bruises, and scrapes on you than anyone in this field.
Yeah, hello, first of all. And it was such an intense race. The first half of the race was absolutely incredible. It was the first race, I think, where I really had to fight for the position. And it was awesome. It was a really great fight. It was really hard and it was tough sometimes, like you said, into the marbles. But yeah, great racing from all the guys around me.
Now, we saw you fighting in packs throughout the entire race. There was always just a train constantly around you. What was the game plan? Was it keep going on the attack? Was it trying to keep some preservation in the tires? I mean, you started mid-grid 15th. You managed to gain one position by the end of the race. But during that whole time, you had next to no room to play with around your competitors.
Yeah, it was a tough qualifying for me, so I didn't qualify where I wanted to be, and therefore I had really to manage my tires, because I knew from the Thursday race when I overpush it, they are dead, and so I had to be a bit conservative, but then I saw who is around me, And I knew if I'm in front of like Scott Reynolds, who's really fast at this track, and then of course Lucasen, who got promoted into Platinum and is one of the fastest guys around us. I knew if I have a chance, I have to go for it, and then started to attack and don't wanted to lose a position there. So it was really hard to get the balance between keep your tires not too warm and just fight for the position. It was really hard in the first half of the race. The second half was only manage the tires and just don't get another track warning in.
Were you right on the edge of it, sitting with 3 warnings, or what? How close were you to actually getting a drive-through? We saw quite a few people landing up with those drive-throughs.
Yeah, I was only on one warning. That was about half of the race, shortly before I got into the pit. But I knew how fast it's going to get 1 or 2 warnings in one lap. Because in the last chicane, you can easily get 1 warning and you don't even know that it was a bit off track. So I knew I had to be really conservative throughout the race, that I don't get a drive-through, because that will ruin your race. It's so tight, this pack, and you can't get a drive-through and get away with it. That's not possible here.
All right, and now for the really, really hard question. You were leading the championship coming into the race. You had Tomo finish ahead of you. You had Simon finishing ahead of you. And you're landing up in 3rd. The championship comes down to the last round. Barcelona next weekend. What is the game plan? What's running through the mind?
I think it's the same that I do the whole season. It's just not going for every position. It's just to be consistent and drive the whole weekend with the qualifying and everything to get consistent laps in. Don't push it. Don't over push it. Don't get into unnecessary fights. And I think I didn't. I only won 1 race, I think, the whole season till yet, and it's something. And I'm still on top, so I think it's something. Especially in Platinum, you have to be consistent. Otherwise, you will get thrown out of the race. So for Barcelona, I will do the same. I just try to get consistent, and yeah, that's all I can do.
Well, taking a look at it, there's also the team championship coming into play as well, so there's a bit of pressure coming in there. You've got so many different dynamics coming in. You've got extra points that can be run in the last round. Barcelona, mixed conditions, so it's not even like you can practice for blazing hot conditions like you had here at Imola, where it's like driving on molten lava. What's the plan in terms of getting the car to handle each of the different conditions? I mean, it could be cold, it could be rain, it could be night, it could be morning, it could be anything. And with championships on the line, not just 1, but 2 championships on the line, is there a bit of discussion going on in the background amongst the team, amongst yourself, and also just trying to work out what the car's going to do and how the team's going to feature?
Yeah, of course, we're chatting about the setup and everything, how we manage it and how we can put up the car like we wanted it to be. And of course, for such mixed conditions, for such unknown conditions, you have to be really, really careful what you're doing with the car. You can't just make one setup that's pointy as hell and then you spin out if there's slight rain. So you really have to be careful, and that will bring a lot of fun into the last race. So it will be really, really fun to watch.
That's going to be an epic one, and I think you as a driver that's been constantly fighting it out. I mean, you have been in for the fights in quite a few of the seasons, just really sticking it out to get a win this season. I've got a funny feeling there's a lot sitting on the back of the mind saying, if I get this win, I'm going to get myself a chocolate milkshake. Am I right by saying that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm from Austria, so if I win the championship, I will get a beer and grab one. So that's my goal for the next weekend.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, before I let you go, and congratulations once again getting yourself onto the podium spots for the Platinum, anything you would like to say to our amazing partners out here at ERA the incredible drivers, the new drivers coming in, the new teams being around, the teams that you actively been fighting with, the incredible admin and stewardess behind the scenes, and most importantly, and I think you can agree with me, the petrol heads, the absolute nutters that come in and week out to watch incredible racing right around the world and to get behind their favorite drivers and teams.
Yeah, thanks for all of you watching. Thanks for all of you participating. Thanks for the whole organization and everything. And one thing that nobody mentioned before is, if you're not already done it, check out our academy lessons every Saturday. We make them. We're now on the, I think it's the, sorry, I really have to watch it. For the advanced course, we're now into lesson 3, the guide to braking, next weekend. So join us there. It will be fun, and that's why we're here. We're in an academy. We want to learn. We want to teach, and yeah, I hope we see us on Saturday.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. And even if you're not into a set of course competizione, you're into other sims, it's always handy to go and be a part of the show and going and seeing all the incredible stuff, and also just getting to know a little bit more. Braking is very important, and you may be missing that fraction of a second or maybe a second just by going and braking a little bit too early or too late into the corners. But Martin, absolutely great stuff. Well, congratulations yet again. Fingers crossed heading into the final round of the championship. And with you leading it out, it is going to be a very, very tight fight for that first place spot.
Yeah, definitely will be. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Martin Spitzer, everybody. Absolutely incredible to have a chat to him. And just also getting to you Saturday. Do attend. Be a part of the show. Doesn't matter if you, whatever sim that you are on, it's always handy to get that little bit of knowledge in the back of your head that will help you out during the course of the time. Teaching the basics to the advanced, teaching it to those that are just starting out casually. There's always room to grow and learn, and that is what Evolution Racing Academy is all about. Growing, evolving, becoming a better driver on and off the track, and also having a ton of fun, making friends, having a good laugh, big smile on the face. By the end of it, well, getting a couple of seconds faster, maybe getting a win, championships on the line. That's what it's all about. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for joining us here at Evolution Racing Academy. A big thank you to our partners, the likes of IMB Racewear, incredible high quality sim racing gear that you need to get hold of, and all the incredible stuff from it. A big thank you to one of our drivers that did pass away, but has been keeping an eye on the grid. Big shout out to Dean for all of his support over the course of many years, and I still say goes and supports us throughout the course of our racing here at ERA. AssettoHosting.com for giving us this amazing service that we race in week and week out, being rather consistent through it all, and also to DGRS. Absolutely great to have you guys. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like, let us know what was your favorite moment in the race. Share the link with everyone, because we're going into the final race of the season next week, and you get to hear it all coming next weekend. It's going to be an incredible one. It's going to be an exciting one. It's going to be a close one. Championships will come to a close. Champions will be crowned. But most of all, we're going to have a ton of fun, and we invite you to the party next week here at Evolution Racing Academy. A big shout out to Chris Wall for coming and enjoying the commentary with myself and giving us all the technical insights, and we look forward to hearing him once again next week. And from myself here in South Africa, Stephen Koenig, wish you all well. And like always, folks, from Evolution Racing Academy, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.